As you begin creating and using your own analyses and dashboards, you certainly need to think about whether or not those reports or dashboards are going to be printed, especially if you're creating shared reports or shared dashboards. For example, you might want wider analyses to be printed in landscape mode and narrower, taller analyses to print in the default portrait mode. But you also want to be sure that when any analysis is printed, that all of the data is being printed and not just the data that is visible on the screen. Those types of print options must be set for each individual analysis. And it's a straightforward process, of course. As you can see on the screen, I have a little analysis here, an account listing by org code. And on the results tab for any analysis, or this analysis in particular, there's of course a button bar that runs across the top of the screen. And the fifth button over is the print and export options button, as you can see. And I can just click that button. It is the access point for making any selections or changes for printing options for this particular analysis. Now, when you click on that Print and Export Options button, you're presented with this screen that you see here. And it gives you some basic information that you're using the default paper size, which is 8.5 by 11 inch paper. The default orientation, which is portrait mode. But notice the print rows, it says that you're printing only the visible rows. That means in the case of this particular report that you see on the screen behind the Print and Export Options button, only the first 25 rows would be printed, ever. So what you need to do, if you suspect that or know that this report is going to be printed on a regular basis, you want to make sure to change this print rows option to all rows rather than just visible rows. That's the most basic setup that you need to do. The other thing some other things that you could do would be to add headers and footers and make some other formatting changes, and also decide whether or not you're going to print any charts or images and maintain other formatting as you print the documents. Now, if you wish to create a header or create a footer, you can simply just click the Edit button for header in this example. And here's the Edit Header screen, and you have a number of different areas that you can use to create your header. I'm just going to show you a couple of different things here very quickly before ending this video. So perhaps you've determined that, or somebody has determined for you, which is just as likely, that you want to add a header to the printed report, and you want the printed header to include the name of the university along with perhaps your department name or something like that. So I'm just going to type in the name of the university here. Now, if I don't do anything other than that in the header, it will print pretty much like that. But I probably want this to be bold or something like that. So if I highlight that, I can use the little formatting buttons up here to change the way this information is printed. I can make that bold, for example. And this is not, by the way, this is not as if you're typing a regular document. If I hit enter and type another line, the system doesn't understand that I have entered another line in here, so I do need to put a line break in on the previous line. And now I can go to the second line and type my department name. So something like that, and if I wanted, I can make that bold as well, or perhaps I'll make that in italics. All right, so this would be printed at the top of the page, and maybe I also want to add the date when it was printed. So I can come down here, I can use all of these fields, or any or all of these fields as I wish. Maybe I want the date that it was printed to be included here. I'm going to put it in the upper left-hand side of the screen, and I'm going to use this insert field button here, and I'm going to insert the date over there. It's just the date that the report was created, the date that it was printed. So I'm going to go ahead, and that's all the changes I'm going to make. So I'm just going to go ahead and click OK here. And notice when I come back to the print and export options button, the header box is checked, meaning that we're going to be using the header when I print this document. And again, I could make other changes as I wish, but I'm just keeping this relatively basic. So I'm done setting my print options for this particular report. And again, this is done per report. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK on this screen. Nothing has really changed here other than the fact that I do have, because I've changed those settings, I do have to save this analysis one more time and make sure that it tells me that it's being saved. Now that I've made those changes to the print options, if I were to go ahead and print this, or at least bring it up on the screen as if I were printing it, there it is. Here's the document, and there's the header that I added, and there's the date that it was printed. I could also change this to say, date printed or date created, something like that. But there's my report, and because it is a multi-page report, that header is included on each of the pages. Now I could add other pieces of information to that header, and I could also add a footer if I wished. But that's the basics for learning how to print and setting your print and export options for this report.